Welcome, Pisces. Your Mars in Aries 6 week forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. From April the 9th through to May the 18th, Mars is working its way through its home sign of Aries, very much to do with thrust, initiative, and action. But for you, it represents the second solar house. I'm going to share the event chart of when Mars arrives, all the planetary positions interacting, provide a backdrop energy for those weeks ahead. But I'll also go through all the aspects that Mars is going to forge through those 6 weeks and give you an idea of what you can expect in terms of energy, work, relationships, and finance. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. A very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. So on the screen, Pisces is the event chart, and there's Mars on that vernal point, the first degree of the overall zodiac. So that can be about new beginnings, but we just need to briefly summarize the energy of Mars going through your zodiac sign, which it's just left. It joins you on the 6th of March, but Mars is about thrust and water is about resistance. So although you may have got some things moving, they may not have gone quite as quickly as you would have liked, particularly around your personal identity and the things that you're very invested in as far as what is very much about you, the individual. And part of the reason for that has not been Mars alone, it's been Mercury, which went through a pre-retrograde shadow, a retrograde, and is emerging on this very day, the 9th of April, from its post-retrograde shadow, which is a really good portent. But Mars over the last few days has been in a very lively sextile to Uranus, the planet which is very much about fast electric movement, particularly in the third house, but can be about resources. So an idea you've been championing maybe or has just began to gain real traction, which may have created a lot of satisfaction. But what Mars moving into Aries, and it's still in touch in the sextile with Uranus, so that's going to prevail as a backdrop over the next 6 weeks. But what Mars in Aries wants you to see is converting those ideas into something more tangible, because the second house for you is about foundations, but it's also about your values, your self-worth, and everyday money. The second house can also be about our appreciation of the good things in life, and Mars clearly can be about desire. But Mars immediately connects with your modern aquatic ruler of Neptune. That becomes exact on the 13th. Before I get into that, let's just take a wider lens on the overall chart. And the big takeout is there's a quarter moon as Mars arrives in the practical worldly sign of Capricorn, which for you represents your social dimension, your network, can be to do with your higher purpose. But that square with the position of the sun suggests that if there is something out of alignment, particularly with a friend where maybe your values don't quite chime, could show up over the next week. But on the other side of the heavens and the moon is your traditional ruler of Jupiter, beautiful in the fifth house. And just to say, is forging a quite delicious sextile to Venus. You could genuinely have some very, very lovely encounters over this next 6 weeks. Could be social, could be romantic. But what we do have also is Jupiter in a square with the Sun. That second fifth house energy, the fifth house can be a speculation. Mars can be about risk and being very dynamic. If you do want to have a punt over the next 6 weeks, I think it's really important to know exactly what you're getting into, because it might not quite work out. Because Jupiter doesn't just rule your sign traditionally through faith and expansion of more spiritual knowledge. It's very much about the Sagittarius energy being more to do with luck. And I just would be a little bit guarded about being too free and easy with your resources. However, what we do have, along with Venus's lovely, gorgeous link to Jupiter, is we have that conjunction with Mars and Neptune, peaking on the 13th. Neptune in the second solar house, along with Saturn, may see you over the next 2 years have to work hard in perhaps reinvigorating the way you earn money, but also your identity, because we live in a world which is shifting so quick. Neptune can, of course, be very opaque, mystical, intriguing, but also distorting. Mars is about desire. If there's something you desire or someone you desire, just be aware that Neptune may mean that that person, however much there's something about them that you find very appealing, if you can't quite know for sure where you stand with that person, do proceed with a little bit of care. Also, energetically, the second house and Neptune and Mars could mean that you're going to imbibe rather too much, whether it's chocolate, whether it's whatever your poison might be. So just be conscious by the 13th, you could deplete your energy by overindulgence. But Mars broadly in the second house and for those 6 weeks is certainly going to amp up your appreciation of what's important to you, but also give you more urgency to try to get what you desire. But that can be, in terms of the practical dimension, improving finances, just at the time when Saturn may have slowed things down from the middle of February and for those just over 3 months last year. And that may have been creating a little bit of anxiety, totally understandably. So Mars brings urgency. And then on the 16th links back to Pluto in your 12th house. Now, if you've been following my other forecast, I've been reassuring you that your past skills, knowledge, experience, and wisdom that you've accumulated in your unique way is going to be very important to you right through to 243 when Pluto briefly works its way into your sign and then back to Aquarius, leaving 244. It's all about working through perhaps what's not obvious. So, although that can be a very psychological dimension, Pluto can be about money and it can be about power, but also I think your accumulated experiences can work so well in terms of reinvigorating your finances, particularly by the 16th. So you could have a discussion with someone, it may be a discreet sounding, wondering if you'd be interested in working for them. It may be that you're going to repurpose an old talent in a more current and appropriate way. However, by the 19th, Mars has moved forwards and come into a conjunction with Saturn. Saturn is the planet of harsh lessons, but it's also the planet of wisdom and it's also the planet of endeavor. If we roll our celestial sleeves up wherever Saturn is in its journey, sorry, it tends to reward us if we really put the commitment in. So when Mars joins up with it, we have the two malefics in an alliance, a conjunction. But if your a particular situation seems frustrating and unfair, it may see you feeling quite cross. It could even see your spirits be depleted. You may feel quite low, lower in vitality too. Mars in Aries, very much about core, neat, raw energy. So just be aware, a bit of a challenge is coming with that conjunction, but it can also steel you to dig in and show your resourcefulness and grit. Don't underestimate that. If you have got something about your personal identity, Aries, and how you value yourself, the second house, that's not resolved, as Mars applies to Chiron at the end of April, take action to look at that. Whether it is talking to someone, having some counseling, speaking to a life coach, watching some videos, releasing something from your past, which is still a wound, which is very Chiron. But just know Chiron can be your superpower. If you've got knowledge and wisdom, you could share it with someone before the end of April in a way that helps them. At the start of May, however, Mars does forge a right angle with your traditional ruler of Jupiter. And if we think back to the Sun square to Jupiter at the start of this transit, this journey through Aries, that was saying to you, be cautious about being too free and easy with your generosity and resources, perhaps even your affections to the right person. But Mars, of course, is a much more hustle bustle energy. It's impatient. It wants to do things quickly. With Jupiter, it thinks that everything's possible. But then again, it may see you be ultimately very generous to someone. But I don't think grand gestures are really appropriate if we want to build a long-term alliance in a really careful, steady, accumulative way. But you may find yourself a bit rasher with resources at that time. So I'm going to summarize those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances. But if you've yet to watch your April deep dive monthly forecast, Pisces, that's on the screen, your Libra full moon video. You can order your personal horoscopes. They're now 3 for 1. So you pay for one, get three. We're doing this because we appreciate that the cost of living is really going up. And I want to make the proper astrology as available as possible to as many people as possible. Please see the link below. The charts are great. You'll get so many insights into your life journey and how to plan your future moves. And also, if you'd like to work with me one-to-one, please check out my testimonials. It's always a pleasure. And if you've yet to sign up for your free daily horoscope, fired to your device each morning to get that celestial pit stop early in the day, you can do so below. So, to summarize, I think when it comes to your romantic situation, if you're aligned into someone with similar values to you and you're getting on well, and there is that sense of attraction, mutuality, kindness, it looks good. If you're wanting to reconfigure your finances, I do think you're going through a bridging phase and you might not see straight away the results. But if you have been working extremely hard over the last 6 weeks, the advance of the last few days could still see some sudden good news come through, which is pleasing. I think in terms of your professional situation, the second house is very much about foundations. If you're wanting to keep things on an even keel and therefore stick with a current role or employer, that's understandable. But don't underestimate your past knowledge, skills, and experience if you are considering self-employment, for example, or perhaps retraining or reskilling to work in a different way future forwards. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Pisces. All the best for the next 6 weeks. Take care and goodbye.